Already Loaded for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new video. This time around it is another Chaotic 101, and we are covering deck building and actually putting together your deck. So, as we discussed in the last Chaotic 101, Chaotic is comprised of 5 different card types: creatures, battle gear, locations, music, and attack cards. And you gotta use all those for your deck and everything. And it's very, very simple with how you gotta use them and everything. So, for a standard 6 versus 6 game, you obviously need 6 creatures because it's 6 versus 6, so you and your opponent have 6 creatures. 1 battle gear for each creature, and 1 music for each creature. So that means 6 battle gear and then 6 music. You can have as many music as you want in your deck, so long as it does not exceed the number of creatures. Which is pretty straightforward. You also need 10 locations and 20 attack cards, and we'll cover more in depth in attack cards in a few slides. So that's very, very, very straightforward. It's really easy to remember. And there is one other thing though, and this is where things get kind of complicated, is that you have to half it for 3v3. And the reason why I say complicated, because then you use the 3v3 rules in terms of locations and attack cards for 1v1, and then I think you double everything like for 10v10. Again, like, it gets complicated, so I like to stick to 6v6 and 3v3. 1v1 is also doable. 1v1 matches are weren't as popular as 3v3 and 6v6. 6v6 being the most common one, and was also the one used in tournaments. 3v3 mostly used to ease people into the game and teach people how to play. And because that's mostly because in a 6v6 game, games tend to last half an hour to an hour long, and in 3v3 it tends to last more like 20 to 30 minutes. So it's like really cut down in that time because it's, you know, about half as length. But for 3v3, you need 3 creatures, 3 battle gear, 3 music, 5 locations, and 10 attack cards. And again, I want to cover more in depth on attack cards once we get to them. Now then, for restrictions, as I mentioned in past videos, Chaotic has no ban list and no set rotation, so they had to put restrictions into the actual cards. The first one being unique, which has been in the game since the very beginning, which basically states only 1 card of that card name can be in the deck. Very, very straightforward, and the reason why this is here is for really powerful cards that you couldn't play, that they think that you shouldn't play 2 of. And I don't think I mentioned this, but you are allowed to play 2 of a card in your deck. That's kind of like your play set, unless it has unique on it. Loyal, which basically says that card cannot enter mixed armies, meaning that if it's part of the overworld tribe, it has to stay in a deck comprised of nothing but overworlders. The cards from the first 2 or so sets, I believe first 3 sets, the whole first block, does not have a loyal there. Instead, they have X cannot enter mixed armies, X being the name of that creature. So, like, for instance, for Maxor, it'd say Maxor cannot enter mixed armies. Which, luckily, they did sort them down later on, and obviously reprints have the loyal text. Then, within the third to last set, I think it was in the third to last set, they introduced a new restriction called Legendary. And legendary cards are so powerful that you can only play 1 legendary card in your deck. That means if you have a legendary creature, you cannot play a legendary battle gear. You are only allowed 1 legendary card in your deck. There aren't many legendary cards, but the ones that there are really powerful and can bolster just about any deck that you're playing. Obviously, depending on which legendary cards you're talking about. Now then, one thing I do want to mention with the rule of 1 and rule of 2 is that retrains count as the same monster. So here we have Kaor, one of the best cards out of the first set, and then we have his retrain from the last set of the Marillion block. So like a good 4 or 5 sets in between, more like 6 sets in between these 2 versions. And obviously, this KR is not as good as this KR, okay? I mean, yeah, sir, this KR can negate any music, and yeah, sir, he has 3 music counters, but this KR has fire 10, which means every single fire attack he does initial 10 damage, which I think is personally better. So, obviously, they both have unique, and that means you cannot play both of them in your deck. The reason being is that they are both KR. and they still count as the same monster. Yes, Kaor the Fierce over here has the title the Fierce, but he still counts as Kaor, and so therefore you cannot play both, which is something that, like, I remember, like, one of the head chaotic forum blogger guys, who was like part of, you know, like the actual staff team and everything, he had to make a super long forum post explaining everything about that whenever this question came up a lot. Also, obviously, this is the old errata before they errated it into loyal. So obviously Kaor may not enter mixed armies, and then loyal. So these are just really two good examples for creatures that count as the same monster, and also showing off the old card text versus the new card text. And also I do want to mention that creatures that have a unique retrain, or sorry, a unique original and a non-unique retrain, or vice versa, you can play either one of this guy or two of this guy. You can't play this guy along with this guy, because he is still unique and they are still the same monster. So I just wanted to mention that. It was something that was also kind of confusing, but however, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can play two of this guy or just one of this guy. You can't play this guy with this guy, because, well, this guy over here is unique. Now then, attack cards explained. Okay, so whenever you're building your deck, you have a build cost. Okay, up here in the attack card, on the card text, is a build cost. This build cost cannot exceed the number of cards that you can play in your deck. So for a 6v6, that'd be 20. For 10v10, that would be, sorry, 3v3, that'd be 10. So you cannot exceed 20 build cost. This card right here is Armageddon, one of the most powerful attacks in the game, and it has a total of 5 build cost. Meaning, if you're playing 3v3, it takes up half of your build points for your deck. So for 3v3, you just with one card would cover half of your build cost total. So then you'd have 5 left, and you'd have to split that up with 9 cards. Likewise, with a build cost of 20, you would have to split this one card with a total of other 15 build cost for the rest of your deck. Now, granted though, that's a lot easier since you have 19 cards left and just general things. Now, me personally, I don't like playing more than one card with a 4 or 5 build cost. These can get really high. The build cost with those can get really high really fast, and before you know it, you'll be playing like 3 or 4 powerful cards, and then the whole rest of your deck will be crappy 0-drop attack cards that have like stat challenges and stuff. Trust me, I've done that. It's not a good idea. So some tips I want to try and some tips for building a deck, especially for new time players. Try not to mix armies, okay? Like, as in, don't mix Overworld with Underworld, Bethanian with Danian, Merlian with anything else. I would say don't do that until you've gotten some experience with each tribe, gotten to see how they work and everything. And of course, I will be making a video covering each tribe and how they play, their general playstyle, because each of the 5 or so tribes have a completely different playstyle from each other, and they tend to work better with their own tribe. Now, obviously, later on in the sets, they did release cards that really tried to encourage mixed army play, but however, I would recommend not doing that until you've gotten some experience with each of them. I already mentioned this, but try to play only 1 or 2 attack cards with a high build cost. You don't want to eat up your build points that fast. It's not a good idea. And then, of course, you will need to play at least some 0-drop build cost attack cards, unless like you play 20 attack cards with 1 build cost, because then you kind of just get around that. So that's my general tips for building a deck, and I hope I didn't miss anything. I think I got it all. I kind of rushed through it because it's very straightforward. You just need 6 creatures, 6 battle gear that you think goes well with those creatures, 6 music, 10 locations, and then 20 attack cards. Anyway, so yeah, building a deck is very straightforward. There's just a lot of restrictions that you got to keep in mind. Anyway, so guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a great day. I hope you guys look forward to the next Chaotic 101. The next one I will be covering on how to actually play the game. So guys, see you all later. Peace out. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And see you all later. Goodbye.